Hey everyone, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdarchist Ted, and today I'm joined by
Nerdarchist Dave.
And today, D&D just got punked. Steampunked. Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter. Get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
Alright, so we're going to do a video today about kind of taking steampunk and inserting it into your 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, or is it inserting 5th Dungeons & Dragons into your steampunk? I don't know. But first off, I figured it'd be a good idea for us to kind of say, what is steampunk? Because sometimes steampunk sometimes feels like one of those things that it's like, you don't know what it is until you see it. So I was like, well, what actually defines it? So, you know, an overview from Wikipedia, steampunk. Steampunk is a subgenre of science fiction or science fantasy that incorporates technology and aesthetic designs inspired by 19th century industrial steam-powered machinery. You know, it's also often associated with cyberpunk as being a subgenre. There's also other features that often get incorporated into steampunk, like alternate history type stuff, and I've read stories like that, which is pretty cool, as well as other genres like fantasy, horror, historical fiction, alternate history, or branches of speculative fiction. So all those kind of play nicely. It really is a hybrid kind of genre. Now, the reason why we're doing this was actually brought about by inspiration from a Kickstarter that's going on right now. Ironrise, they're actually the sponsor of this video. It is a adventure board game, a steampunk adventure board game on Kickstarter right now. There will be a link in the description. The art to it looks fantastic. You can see it. There's also an article over on nerdarchy.com that you can check out. So go check out that Kickstarter and help support Nerdarchy by supporting the sponsors.
So I've always looked at steampunk as something that's like, as was described to me, that whole electricity thing, it just never really took off as a source.
It was just
of
a fad.
It was a fad. So steam powered, all of the gears, all of these things are, you know, super into, you know, the steampunk stuff. But there's already so many things that are inspired by or could be incorporated with steampunk that exist within the D&D verse that's out there. If we look at the different areas that are classes, well, you know, typically when you go to, say, a steampunk convention, or if you read steampunk type novels, you're going to see somebody with guns. You know, it's common because it's in that era of technology. So the gunslinger class that Matthew Mercer had put out there would be a perfect way, or a perfect class to be able to play in a steampunk game. The artificer fits so beautifully within the steampunk universe. So that would be another class that you could go into, as well as from the Unearthed Arcana, similar to the artificer, the School of Invention. That would work as well, and you could incorporate these classes and subclasses right into your D&D game if you wanted to have that steampunky feel. And just the existence of these type of characters are going to automatically move that in the direction of steampunk.
Yeah, you know, in earlier editions of D&D, like 3rd edition, there was like a whole supplement for adding kind of like almost like mech armor and stuff like that, and some of it was very much steampunkish. And I could definitely see gnomes doing this. Some of the inventions from Kryn, from AD&D, from the Tinker Gnomes, definitely falls in line, so you can definitely do it. And also, like, a big part of steampunk always seems to be like over accessorizing things, so that part just kind of makes it fun. I know even our own writer Mike Gould has run a bunch of campaigns in his own homebrew world where they do a lot of, I think it's like a archipelago, the chain of islands that I cannot
Archipelagos?
That's it. Setting that's like all steampunk inspired. You know, they have gyroscopes and you know, they've reflavored a lot of spell casting, which is something you could easily do. Almost all the classes fit really easily into a steampunk universe, and most of the steampunk books that I have read also incorporate mysticism and the supernatural as well. So, you know, so adding fantasy to it is not a big deal at all. So it'd be really easy to do. If you look at other campaign settings. Like Eberron has very much an Arcana punk feel to it, especially in Sharn, the City of Spires, where it's in a manifest zone for the plane of air, so it's easier to create things that fly or can levitate or hover within those cities, and they're actually able to make these like giant like flying towers that, you know, go on much higher than they should be able to.
So the Arcana Punk is yet another derivation within steampunk, where as opposed to the technology being powered by steam, it's a lot of it being powered by magic. So to me, the airships of Eberron really, to me, speak highly to the steampunk aspect. You know, a lot of the times you see in steampunk guys, you see goggles or you see wings, as because that's how those things are coming out. You have the airships, or you know, the blimps.
Victorian style dress is very important as well.
It is indeed high fancy dress for both men and women. You see vests a lot of the times on the guys if you don't want to go straight up to the armor. Getting into some monsters, like I know in earlier editions they were like gear golems and steam golems. These are the kind of things that would very easily fit in a D&D steampunk setting. So if you wanted to take golems that already existed and just slap that visual on it, all right, your iron golem as opposed to just a walking suit of armor, well, he's got these exhaust ports and this big tank on his back,
gears and sprockets.
You know, gears and sprockets. These things you could easily just convert all of that stuff and describe them all differently, but every single golem, because they all have different challenge ratings, just describe them differently, and they're all a different type of steam golem, gear golem, steampunk golem, call them what you will, but it would all work.
Yeah, even robbing from Eberron a little bit, because they had the elemental powered vehicles and vessels. What if instead of steam powered, everything was air elemental powered, right? Because essentially that's like a form of steam. Mm-hmm. So you could totally do something along that nature, where they've totally made an industry of capturing air elementals and forcing them to become power sources. What happens when one goes crazy? What happens when one gets out? Is Arcana Punk really that different from steampunk? Or you could do both side by side. You could have straight up fantasy style magic and steampunk at the same time. I could definitely see dwarves and gnomes being the ones to invent this, and then maybe other races adopting it. You could have different factions where the elves maybe see it as being very unnatural. Halflings are willing to use it, but they're not really interested in learning how it works. They just know it's convenient, and it becomes a creature comfort. Humans are going to do whatever humans do. This is how it is. Aeronaut Windless is a novel we both read. It's another one that takes another different look at steampunk. And that one also incorporates a lot of like magic into it as well, as opposed to just being straight up steampunk. Like the aesthetics are steampunk, but it's not necessarily steam that's powering everything.
Right. So, I mean, that's by Jim Butcher, as you guys who watch our channel regularly know that we are big fans of. That's supposed to be a trilogy. We're waiting for book 2 on that one. Been waiting for a while. But it's another area that you can draw a source of inspiration from. And we, in fact, did take some inspiration from that when we created the world for the Open Legend game that you ran on our channel. This was a kind of steampunky, Cthulhian horror-esque game. My character literally was an artificer, so like I was a tinkerer of sorts. I had this big old backpack that was a flamethrower. It was a lot of fun to go down this road. But we got to have some of those steampunky type feels within the game. We had an airship, and we had technology that wasn't there in a typical D&D game.
Right, and that's kind of the thing. Like a lot of the steampunk tropes are about using an alternate source of power when it comes to technology. Now, obviously, steam is fun because it's very ridiculous, and everything has to be oversized, and you have boilers, and it's going to be loud and clunky and dirty, and these are all traits of the steampunk genre, which would be easy to incorporate into your into your D&D game. And it would be fun to run kind of an urban Gaslight style adventure with some of the steampunk elements in the backdroppings. And maybe in that world magic is even more rare, and you have less of it. But for the most part, everything that you have in D&D already would fit nicely. It's just a lot of it is going to be just a little bit of reflavoring, reimagining. Maybe you're using firearms and allow them into your world, or maybe use something completely different that is similar to firearms.
Fire legs?
Maybe, but is powered by steam and somehow. Like you have this big bulky rifle, and you actually have to light a fuse almost to keep so you have a boiler that's going. You might use vehicles like gyrocopters and things like that as well. And also, like, I forget the name of the crazy bicycles that appear in a lot of the steampunk flavored stories. Like, you could do things like that because it'd be hilarious, right? To have this giant wheeled trike essentially, and like have a chase scene with several of those, and with the players either chasing after or riding on. But it's just a different way to play your D&D game. I'm actually kind of surprised with all the different Kickstarters we've seen and genre mashups that have come out. I'm surprised we haven't seen someone try and do steampunk for 5e yet. 'Cause, we've seen several iterations of the future in space. We've seen the Wild Wild West.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just waiting for that steampunk version to come out. I know it's ready. It's ready and daunting. I mean, even today we had someone on that was talking cyber punk for 5e D&D. So it's only a matter of time. Question is, do you include these elements already in your game, or are you using them? How do you use them? Let us know. Let's talk about it down in the comments below. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Don't forget to check the description and check out that Kickstarter for that awesome adventure board game.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.